Hello, and welcome, my lovelies, to a tutorial video on scraping Discord server data. I am your host, P.S. Berge, my pronouns are they, she, and I'm the director of the Discord Academic Research Community and a doctoral candidate in the Text and Technology program at the University of Central Florida. Now, over the course of this video, I'm going to talk a bit about what I mean when I say networked Discord data and what kind of research you can do on Discord server networks. Then I'm going to walk you through the process of setting up and running a scraper for yourself. I built this scraper in Google Collaboratory, so you don't need any coding experience to use it, just a Google account. There's timestamps in the description, so please don't hesitate to jump around. And if you prefer written instructions or you're hoping to give your own workshops, there's a guide linked in the description as well. Let's get to it. Now, when I say network Discord data, you might already have some questions. Discord is not like other social media platforms in that it advertises itself as a walled garden, meaning that Discord is populated with isolated individual communities. But this isn't actually true. Servers on Discord are connected by people, by bots, by fandoms and organizations and context. They're connected both to each other and to other communities on the web. The Dark, for example, the community I moderate, didn't exist a year ago, and yet now we're nearing 600 members, some from Twitter or a listserv or here on YouTube. But the tool that I'm about to show you today is one of the only ones out there that offers a bird's eye view of the larger Discord ecosystem. You see that hideous, terrifying thing underneath me here? That's Discord, a Discord network. And by the time we're done here today, you'll have made one of these for yourselves. But first, why do this? Why examine Discord from a network perspective? The first answer is because we can learn about the larger patterns of Discord's ecosystem. We can ask questions like, how do Discord servers interact with each other? What kinds of structures go beyond individual communities? We can also observe cultural patterns through the recruitment and group identity. I'll talk about this a little bit in a moment, but in a study I did with my co-author Daniel Heslop, for example, we looked at white supremacist server recruitment and how they actually bring people in from the internet and percolate in from other spaces. But we can also ask questions like what kinds of communities are out there and how are such and such communities attracting new members. And also because we can contextualize the communities we are already working in. We can ask questions like, how does this community fit into larger networks? And what other communities share interests with this one? So let's talk about Discord. Did you know that Discord actually has a discovery feature built in, a way for users to search for and join new communities? The discovery button is kind of hidden at the bottom of your sidebar, sneakily inserted to appeal to new users, while those in dozens and dozens of servers like I am don't even notice it. But here's the thing, Discord's discovery feature is not helpful for getting a picture of what kinds of communities are on the platform, and there's a few reasons for this. In order for your community to qualify for discovery on Discord, you must apply to be partnered or verified, and your community needs to have at least 1,000 members, and that's only recently lowered from 10,000. And finally, and this is a big one, your server cannot have any NSFW content whatsoever. And if you look at my screen here, you'll see the 5 most popular servers in Discord Discovery. But I'll tell you right now, there's a very important one missing. Any guesses as to what that might be? The answer is actually the official Pornhub Discord server, a community with just under 500,000 members, making it one of the most popular communities on the entire platform, and yet it's invisible through Discord search, along with every other NSFW community, an entire crucial branch of the platform hidden. So if you're doing research on NSFW platforms, or say on queer support communities that are smaller than 1,000 members, or on extremist servers that would never apply for verification because they would be flagged, Discord's own search functions are going to pose a huge problem. And not only that, but as you can see here, 32,000 gaming servers are listed on Discord, but I can only view 1,000 of them through the API. And on top of all of that, scraping Discord technically violates the platform's terms of service. So, uh-oh. Now, my co-author Daniel Heslop and I have called this Discord's iceberg effect. We can only see a carefully curated selection of communities on the platform, and the rest is hidden. I do not have a perfect solution for this, but we do have a solution. Third-party bulletin sites, like Disboard.org, have been connecting users with Discord communities for far longer than Discord has been searchable. There are other sites like this, including top.gg or discordservers.com, but Disboard is the biggest one so far. Disboard has no member minimums or restrictions. Users instead install the Disboard bot into their server, fill out some information, and their community is listed on a public bulletin on the site. Servers are prompted via a bumping system, so communities that are more active are brought to the front. But here's the thing. While Discord lets you view tens of thousands of servers through discovery, Disboard lets us view up to 1.3 million. And every community includes 3 to 5 tags and a description. When you run a search on Disboard, it pulls up every community using the tag you've searched. Remember how Discord had 32,000 gaming communities indexed? Well, Disboard has 320,000, literally 10 times the scale. Big communities and small communities. Disboard allows us a window into the deeper structures of Discord to counterbalance, to an extent, that iceberg effect. So what are we going to do? We are going to scrape Disboard to learn about Discord. Got it? Awesome. Now here's what a typical community listing looks like on Disboard. I picked this at random, but it is very representative. As you can see, we have a bunch of metadata about this community made available to us, including the community name, in this case, edgy social gaming memes, the number of members currently online. Note that this does include bots, but excludes anyone who is a member but isn't currently logged in and active. In this case, 43,017 people were online when I screen capped this. And then we get up to 5 tags set by the lister that describe the community. And this is the most crucial part. These tags are going to help us traverse and observe larger patterns across communities. Because if a tag exists, it means Disboard has it indexed, meaning you can find every other community that shares that tag and similar tags. And you would be surprised at what is indexed, as Dan and I found in our study. Yeah, this proved really helpful when we were trying to identify overtly hateful networks. Thankfully, this tag and some of the other more egregious ones now give you a 404 page. But we also collect a textual description of the community and a date that the server listing was created. And finally, we get the URL for the invite link, should you decide you want to join edgy social gaming memes. Okay, time to get our hands dirty. We're going to take some time and identify the tag that you want to scrape today. So I want you to go ahead and head to disboard.org and find a tag that you might be interested in scraping. Be sure to note the exact writing of the tag, or you can just keep it open in a separate browser. If you need an idea for a tag to scrape, here are some examples in gaming or geek culture, live streaming, queer tags, or NSFW tags. For this demo, I will be scraping servers on NFTs, since I was just having a whole conversation with some other Discord researchers about NFT grifters and Discord communities. But if you need more time, pause here before we continue. Okay, now it's time to get to scraping. I want you to head to darkmode.org/scraper. And if at any point here you need to pause or consult the guide, please don't hesitate. Okay, I'm going to switch over and start giving you instructions in the scraper now. But before I do, I want to point out 2 places where you can read more about scraping Disboard. The first is my paper in New Media and Society with Daniel Heslop, which I've already mentioned. But I also have a blog post up on the Dark website about methodology and what to think about when you're scraping Disboard. So be sure to check both of these out. All right. So once you've clicked the link, you're going to end up here on GitHub at this repository, and we are going to open it in Google Colab by hitting this blue button here. Now, once this opens up, it's going to take you to the notebook. And if you've never used Google Collaboratory before, that's totally fine. I know it can look a little intimidating. I'm going to quickly walk you through the basics. It works just like any other Google Workplace application. It will probably look fairly familiar to you. But right now, the most important thing is that you make sure that you are signed in to your Google account here in the top right-hand corner. That is the only requirement here, because what we're going to do is we are going to go up here to File, and then click Save a Copy in Drive. And we're going to do that before we do anything else. And the reason that we're doing this is you are going to be cloning the notebook into your own Drive folder so that you can make changes. If you forget to do this, then what's going to happen is you're going to try to edit the master copy and it's not going to let you. It's going to be really disappointing. So make sure that you've got this cute little Drive icon here and copy of Disboard scraper before we do anything else. So here's where you can read the information for the notebook. Here's all the ways you can get in touch with me if you need help. And we do newly have a DOI for the scraper. So please, please, please don't hesitate to cite us if you are using the scraper or the notebook at all in your work. Now, if you're not familiar with Google Colab, the way it works is it is divided into cells. Cells can either contain text written in Markdown or code, which runs Python. And so to unhide a cell, you just click here and it'll all pop out. In this case, this is just the licensing and acknowledgements. This is published under the MIT license, so you're more than welcome to adapt it to your own research purposes. I simply ask that you cite me, please, and maybe let me know, because I would love to hear about it. And also that you don't use the scraper to do shitty things like harass people. And please consult, Internet Scholar ethics guidelines if you need guidance on how to do that. I especially want to plug, if you are interested in Discord research, come join us in the Discord academic research community. You can find us at darkmode.org with a C. We have channels in our server specifically for getting support and help with the scraper. Now, before we go any further, I do want to say there's a little hamburger menu in the top left here. If you ever get lost, this will direct you anywhere you need to go in here. It's super handy and your easiest way to get around. Okay, so normally what you would do here is you would click the getting started, but you have me, the live tutorial, so we don't need instructions. We're just going to mosey on here to setting up the scraper. So you're going to click these two cells here and it's going to open two cells that we're going to need to run. This first one, 1A, is called one-time setup. And true to the name, you only need to run this the very first time you use this notebook on your Google account. Now, to run a cell, all you have to do is click this little play button. And when you do, you're going to see this little connecting, initializing, and then some statistics up here. And this is because Google Colab does not run things on your computer. Instead, it actually runs it through Google servers, which is amazing because it means you can be on an absolute potato of a computer and still run fancy internet studies programs. It is going to ask you to give it access to your Google Drive folders. You're going to say yes, give PB access to everything. No, I'm just kidding. The reason we allow this is because it is going to be creating a new file folder to port all of the files that you create here in your Google account. So when you run this, it should say that it is cloning content into a modified Disboard scraper folder. And then when the cell is done, it's going to give you a little check mark and then also a little timestamp for how long that just took. Now you might be wondering, wait, where the heck did all that happen? What just happened to my Google? Now in the top left here, you're going to see this little folder icon. And when you open that, you're actually going to have access to all your Google Drive folders. And as you can see here in the My Drive folder, the scraper has just created a Disboard scraper folder. And when you open that, here are all of the files that have been created. In this case, the Python for the scraper itself, and some configuration files. So everything that this is running will be accessible to you in this folder after the fact. Now, once we have done that, remember, we never have to run this cell again, so get it out of here. But this next one, 1B, install modules, you will need to run every time you reopen the notebook. So if you close your browser, you come back to it or whatever, make sure you run this every time. And you'll know if you haven't, because you will start getting errors. Now, when we run this, it's going to spit out a lot of jargon underneath. This is the output. What's happening is we are installing all of the modules that are going to be used by the scraper. Just let it vomit out its wall of text. It's going to say lots of things like requirement already satisfied. That's fine. That's fine. Just let it do its thing. What this is doing is it's configuring Python to be able to run the modules that we need here. Just ignore it. Go fix yourself a cup of coffee. Come back in, 40 seconds, and we will be ready to roll. And again, you'll know it's done when this little swirling ball becomes a check mark. There it was. Perfect. All right, so now we're moving on to the most important part. And this is where we actually scrape the data. So we're going to open up these two cells here. And the very first thing we're going to do is run the scraper. So to run the scraper, we're going to have to configure these two parameters here. So you have to set these things before you run the cell. Now, to get the tag that we're going to be scraping, we actually have to go to Disboard and decide what it is we're going to scrape. So you're going to go to disboard.org. And once you're here, you're going to decide what tag is it you wanna scrape today. And granted, there's a lot of tags on Disboard, so you have choices here. Now, I've actually already chosen my tag. I'm going to be looking at NFT communities because I'm horrified. Now, when you go here, it's going to show you a bunch of important information. One is tags that are similar. This is really helpful if you want to snowball your sample and find more tags to scrape later. We'll talk about combining samples down the line. But it's also going to show you how many servers are here. And this is important because each page of servers will serve 24 different communities. Now, if we were to go to, and I have this already pulled up, if we were to go to the 50th page here, which you can get to just by appending 50 here on the URL, and you scroll all the way down, you're going to see that there are, lots of communities here. So we can get up to 1,200 communities out of the 4,000 here for NFTs. But when we try to go any further, it is going to tell us that the 51st page does not serve. And if we try to go there ourselves by brute forcing it, it's going to say, sorry, Disboard does not serve more than 50 pages for any query. This is actually relatively new. The first documented case of this, I think, was in September, but unfortunately, Disboard has kind of clamped onto us and is no longer letting us see more than 50 pages of servers, which is a bummer. It's a bummer because it means the maximum number of servers we can scrape from any single tag right now is 1,200, but that is still plenty, especially when you start deploying some of the snowball methods that I will show you here. So for now, just know that the maximum number of pages that we can scrape is 50. But if you come back here to the scraper, you are going to input the tag directly as it appears on Disboard. So in this case, NFT. It's fairly simple, but bear in mind that if your tag does have a space in it, for example, if you want to search Among Us, replace all spaces with hyphens. It's actually Among -us. There are no spaces in tag queries. Similarly, it is not case sensitive, but you do want to make sure that punctuation and spelling and everything is exactly as it appears on Disboard. And then what you're going to do is you're going to set the number of pages here. Again, for every page, it is going to be 24 servers, so you can quickly rack up a lot of data this way. Now, the scraper has a sleep command, so it will wait a certain number of seconds per page, so the more pages, the longer this is going to take to run. But for this demo here, I'm going to set this to 20 pages, and we are going to go ahead and run the scraper. And what it's going to do is it is running that application that installed in your Google Drive folder, and it's going to give you a nice little cook timer here, tell you how long until the cookies are done. So, it looks like I've got 1:39 until this is done. So I will see you when this is finished. But while yours is going, I don't know, go get yourself a snack, do something nice, do a meditation, have a good time.
One eternity later.
And 100. Cool. Yes, I am sorry to report for those of you new to internet scraping, the actual scraping part is the most boring part of the whole process. But yes, our data was collected. We successfully collected 20 out of 20 pages. It took us 1 minute and 50 seconds. And now a couple of very important things have happened. First and foremost, the scraper is actually going to tell us some interesting information right now. It is going to tell us the top tags by position within the sample that we just collected. Now, in Disboard, when you look at a community, the tags for each community are listed in order, and the scraper actually remembers what order those tags were in. So as you go through position by position, it'll tell you what the most common tag was. And the reason this is helpful is we can actually see here, NFT is very common as the 3rd, 4th, and 5th tag. But there are other tags like crypto that are more common in tag 1 and 2. And the reason I show you this information up front is because this might help you with snowballing. We might decide, for example, now that we want to go ahead and scrape crypto next and, collect more samples here. But the other thing that has happened is that this file, which is stored as a CSV or comma separated variable file, is now available in that folder. You will find it here, nftservers.csv. So let's say I'm in California right now, there's a blackout, I lose power, oh no, your data is all preserved. But you may want to take a look at that data a little bit sooner. And to do that, we're going to run 2b. And this file is going to download the CSV you just created as an Excel file. So we're going to open this up in Excel. And when this opens up, it's going to be illegible. No, don't ask again. And that's because all of these columns are way too small, so we are going to widen them. And then, of course, we are going to select column D, and we're going to wrap text and make column D a little bit wider so that we can actually see what is going on here. Okay, so what you have here is you have a big old spreadsheet with all of the communities that we have just downloaded. In the far left corner, we can see the name. We can see the number of members online, the creation date, and a description. And we get the invite link as well, so you can actually find the community out there on the internet, and then we get our 5 tags. Now, right off the bat, you could say, okay, forget the rest of the notebook. I have my data right here. These CSV files, you can go put them in Orange, go put them in AntConc, Voyant, whatever, Gephi, whatever kind of data visualization or digital humanities tool you like to use. You can just send this off and have fun. The most important textual component here, of course, is always the descriptions for communities. You're going to find some really interesting textual data in here. That's always fascinating to look at. So all of this data is here, and that took us what, a minute and a half? But we actually have some tools built in for you. Yes, I'm still here. I'm not a robot. Some tools built in for you within the notebook itself, and so I want to walk you through that now. Now, before you can actually analyze your data, you're going to have to import it. And you might be like, PB, why do I have to import it? I literally just generated it. Well, the reason for that is if you want to modify your files, or maybe you imported them from somewhere else, you need to load that information back into the notebook for it to be processed here. So there's 2 ways that you can do that. We're going to open up the folder here, and we're going to go to 3A. And you can either upload a CSV file that you scraped previously, so that one that we just downloaded would be fine. And part of the reason why this is so helpful is because if I say snowballed a sample that included 4 or 5 different tags, and I wanted to look at those all together, all I have to do is go to a CSV merger, merge the files that I just collected, and then I can upload them all at once and analyze them together. But in this case, I'm actually going to do the easier thing, which is to import it directly from my drive folder. And all you have to do is replace the tag here in brackets with the tag that you want to pull in. And remember, if you can't remember, just open this folder here and it'll tell you what the file is called. In this case, nft_servers.csv. We're going to go ahead and click Run Data. And what's going to happen is it's going to pull up a data frame displaying the same data we were just looking at in Excel. Only it's going to give you some extra information and some extra cool tools that we can use. First of all, it's going to tell you how many servers are loaded. In our sample right now, we have 480 servers, which is pretty cool. And then we can also set filters if we would like to. So for example, if you're only interested in big servers or maybe small servers, let's say I only want servers with 1 to 100 members, you can filter all of that down here and get a sense of, okay, here's what small communities look like. What do big communities look like? Well, you can figure all of that out. Or maybe I'm only interested in communities that have crypto as their tag in slot 1 or something containing crypto. All of that is available there. in the data frame filters. So this alone is a really valuable way to quickly get familiar with your data, and we haven't even gotten to the cool stuff yet. You can also configure down here at the bottom how many results you want to see per page, and bear in mind you can scroll through more pages down here in the bottom right, and this is going to be true of all the data frames that we look at here. Now, if you want to use the other analysis tools that I've set up here, you're going to have to run this second cell here, 3B, to import more dependencies. This is super important. You'll remember if you haven't done it because it's going to scream at you. When you run this, you might get an error, you might not. And sometimes it can take a little bit of time, so, be patient with it. But once you've done this, then you can scroll down here to section 4, which is where we are going to have a lot of options for the things that we can do. There are actually, I believe, 8 different tools here in the toolkit for things that we can look at. And I'm going to give you a quick rundown of all of them. Cell 4A will let you quickly identify the most popular and least popular servers in your community. You can do that by changing this sort by variable and running cell. Remember, each time you run this, it's just pulling the data that you have loaded in section 3. So if you decide, I want to look at a different file, great, just run 3A again, and you can look at a different file. But that's 4A. 4B lets you quickly identify the newest and oldest servers in the community by date time. So here we're looking at the newest servers made just a couple weeks ago, and the oldest servers. Wow, an NFT community in 2016. That's fascinating. Anyway, so you can quickly find the oldest and newest servers here. You can also identify the most popular tags in the communities, and this displays in 2 different ways. When you run it, it will give you a breakdown in a list, and then it will also graph it out for you if you're a visual person. And this is especially helpful. Bear in mind the top result will always be the tag you searched, probably. But quickly identifying what other tags might be relevant to your sample is really useful for getting a sense of how you might want to snowball your data later on. You can change how many to display up here. And then moving on, this is where we start to get a little bit more complicated. We are going to create a server activity graph. And what this is going to do is generate an interactive graph where we can quickly identify servers by date and members online. And what's amazing about this is we can actually click and drag, and if we click this little option here with wheel zoom, it's the 4th one from the top, we can even zoom in and get a really careful look at, wow, what is like the most recent popular community, what is the oldest popular community, and again, the date is on the x-axis and the members online on the y, and hovering over any of these dots will pull up their information. And this is a super helpful way to really get familiar with your data set and identify the outliers. If you want to save this, you can. There's a little save button here, or just click this little save output button and run the cell again. And when you do, that little HTML file will be saved here as server activity graph, and then the name of the scraped thing and when it was read. Kind of a long file name, sorry about that. But really, really helpful tool for getting familiar with your data set. If you need to configure some of the other parameters, you might. The sample size here will let you say, I only want a small sample of 20 servers. So pick 20 random servers and put them in here. This is useful because, if you're working with a lot of data, maybe you do just want a random sampling. And, there's nothing wrong with that. Okay, amazing. So now we're going to go down here and we're going to do what's probably the community favorite. We're going to generate a description word cloud. Now, there's a lot of things you can configure for this one. Don't worry about it. Just click the button. And what this is going to do is it's going to pick some of the most common terms in the descriptions of your communities and in tags, and it is going to generate a word cloud. They're super cute. They're really, really good for throwing in a presentation. Now, I want to walk you through really quickly some of the things you can configure here. This is called stop words. Any word that you put in here, separated by spaces, of course, will not appear in this below. So, for example, if I wanted to remove NFT, because that's sort of obvious, I just put NFT in here, I run it again, and NFT will not appear in the word cloud. NFTs will, so maybe I should remove NFTs as well. But anyway, this just lets you tweak the word cloud as much as you want. Again, clicking that save output button will allow you to save it automatically into your folder here. And then there is another value down below called single gradient. If you choose this, and you can select the hue, max light, and max dark, and if you run this, what will happen is it will generate the word cloud using only a single color at different hues, which could be cool if you have certain like color theme or something that you're trying to match. The max light and minimum dark cannot go past each other on the slider, just so you know. But you can select a different hue and, make all kinds of fun colors and experiment with the best way to sort of represent your data. This is also helpful just to get familiar with some of the most popular words and tokens in your data set as well. All right, getting close to the end here. So we can also create positional tag graphs. Every word that you put in here, if you put a word in here, it will then tell you how often that word appears in any one of the given tag positions. So for example, if I was interested in the word crypto and I ran it, okay, I can see here it appears 106 times in the first slot, 110 in the second, 48 in the third, 16 in the fourth, and never in the fifth. Just a helpful way to understand how users are prioritizing certain tags. And then the second to last one here is calculating sentiment. Now, sentiment analysis is kind of a contentious subject that involves natural language processing, and digital humanists have lots of thoughts about it. I'm, in general, of the opinion that it can help us quickly identify outliers. It is not in any way an empirical science. But what will happen is if you click this view sentiment scores and you run this, it will add new column to your data frame here called sentiment score. In general, this means that high sentiment scores are associated with positive words, and low sentiment scores, going all the way to -1, are associated with negative words. So in this case, the most positive, scoring almost a complete point of 1 here, is this community, Venus NFT Marketplace. And this is kind of unsurprising, given some of the words we can see here. Benefits, diamonds, business, goodness, more money every month. Yeah, you can see the kind of shilling language we get from NFT communities is being registered as very high sentiment. And goodness, this one with all the emojis. Yeah, no wonder that this sentiment here is so high. But by the same token, it can always be interesting to look at the lowest sentiment and see what comes up. In this case, yeah, the do not in all caps, and I'm guessing bears is being flagged as bad sentiment. So again, a reminder that this is not a science. This is objectively very funny, but can be a really interesting way to quickly identify, what words, what tokens are being registered as negative. And yeah, the weird language of NFT communities here. Some interesting stuff to be identified by looking at the sentiment. Now, if you want to explore this in another way, we can actually create a interactive sentiment chart, which works just like the one we generated before. And the x-axis in this case is popularity, but So where you have member count on the x-axis, and then the y-axis is sentiment score. So servers that appear up here are the higher sentiment. These are the ones that are associated with being very positive. And then at the lower end, these are the ones that are seen as less positive, more negative. And all of that is reflected here on the site as well. Again, we have scroll wheel functionality, so you can click, you can drag, you can zoom, you can do all of that. And with this one in particular, you can actually change it from member count to date created, and it will reconfigure the graph with a different x-axis if you're interested in seeing when they were created, how positive, how negative. Again, all of this is just ways to explore your data, identify outliers. Don't forget you can use this save output thing. And the jitter amount is just a standard data science thing where dots that would appear directly over each other can be jittered to the side by a small amount to make things more legible. All right, this last one, 4H, is the most complex module, and it is one of the few that requires multiple steps to run. To run this, you are going to click run step 1, and it is going to generate an output. Just ignore that. You have to run that. And then when it's done, you're going to move on here to step 2, where we are going to create the visualization. Now, there's a lot of stuff you can adjust here, but we don't care about any of that. We're just going to click run. And this is going to take a minute. And the reason for that is it is actually generating a network visualization of all of the tags in your data set. It's going to take a moment. And there we are. Goodness. Now, if you click on this once, it is going to zoom in. You can then use your middle mouse button to scroll around. But this is all of the tags in the sample that we just collected. And there's two kinds of data being represented here. There's nodes and edges. Nodes are represented by the blue circles. Edges are the lines between them. A node is made and grows in size every time a tag appears. Edges are drawn between them every time two tags appear next to each other. So here we can see how the network is kind of laid out, what tags are commonly co-occurring with other tags, which ones stand out on their own. In this case, the biggest one here, NFT, makes sense. We have another big one here, NFTs and crypto. And then, of course, we also have the metaverse. But we can see how these kind of fan out into other smaller groups. For example, here's crypto games, including Axie, which I know from other contexts is a crypto game, and battle royales and crypto games here. We have, strange other contexts where NFT arenas, we have comics, we have giveaways, we have earning cash and certain NFT groups, hotels, question mark, subreddits, certain Discord bots. So all of these come together and they give us a way to sort of identify the different areas, within this larger ecosystem of NFT Discord servers that we're looking at. And this is one of the most useful ways to get in there and really, really see how your Discord community fits into larger landscapes, to see the connections between it and other communities, or if you're interested in larger movements on Discord, to really see how these different communities butt up against each other and kind of formulate into these extant groups. So these visualizations are a little bit bigger, so if you want to download it, you have to run this third cell here. Oops, sorry, I'm a dummy. In order to do that, you do need to click the save output button in the previous cell. So I will have to run this again, sad face. But as long as you're smart and have hit this button and then you run the cell, we'll give it just another second here. Then you can download the visualization here. You can also open the image in a new tab, which sometimes makes it a little easier to explore. Perfect. So now if I run this, yep, there you go. So I'm downloading the SVG, and then I can open it in a new tab here. Again, these are big files, which is, makes sense. So you might get what looks like a blank page. It's not. Just scroll around and you'll find what you're looking for. And then finally, there is another mode here. There's lots of stuff you can configure. You can configure the size of the image. You can adjust the font color. You can adjust how transparent the nodes or the edges are. You can adjust the springiness, all of that. But you might also try, there's another visualization type called the shell visualization. And if you run this, we'll give it just a moment here. This will allow you to better visualize the connections between the various tags here. So the shell visualization puts all of the nodes at the edge and then draws the lines between them. It is kind of terrifying to behold, but also really cool. So again, these are just some tools to help you sort of navigate larger ecologies within Discord. And if you're interested in reconfiguring any of this, all of these modules have information on how to configure their various settings in the documentation. Well, that concludes my overview of how to use the Disboard scraper. Thanks so much for taking the time to listen. I hope this proves useful to you in your own research. And if you do end up developing this or building on this in your own work, please do let me know.